and welcome. I'm a bit excited and a bit apprehensive today because I'm going to start on the foundations for the sleeper, which means digging out, not like a huge trench, but about an inch trench, so I can put the sleepers down for the greenhouse frames to go on top. And the last time I was down here digging, the ground was really hard, and I'm not sure what the ground is like in this area either. So I think it's going to be a bit of a hard job. I bought the sleepers yesterday. They're here ready to go. I was going to reuse the ones from the garden that were around my veg bed. But when I looked at the one that we had dug out, it was quite rotten, and I thought I might as well just buy all fresh for here and use those rotten ones for the surround around my raspberry canes at home. And because I thought if I buy all of these at the same time, then they're probably all going to be needed to be replaced at the same time, rather than if I brought 4 from home and then bought 3 new ones, I'd end up probably needed to redo the job quicker than if I just bought 7 new that would rot down in their own time. So these are new. The ones at home are going to be reused, but I'm just waffling because I want to put this job off. So without further ado, let's get something dug. So all my pathways so far have been 60 centimetres long. So I want to continue with the 60 centimetres because that's about enough to have a wheelbarrow length. So I'm just going to measure and get this sleeper in place, and then I can use the sleeper to go along it with my spade to know where I want it to start. So this is roughly where it's going to go, and I'm just going to do a line all the way up here so I know where to go to. But as predicted, this ground is rock hard. It's probably actually worth me saying, while I remember, that 6 foot by 8 foot greenhouses are actually a bit longer than 6 foot by 8 foot. They're about 3 inches longer, or in millimetres, they're meant to be 240 by 180, but they're 250 by 190, because these sleepers are 240. And it's just as well, I thought, I'll just go and measure the greenhouse just to make sure, because obviously the length would have been just right for an 8 foot greenhouse. But it actually, if I hadn't checked and I thought I would put it flush to the edge here, it would have hung over a bit. So I've ended up buying sleepers that will go along that way and that way, which should make the finish a bit nicer. I mean, the sleepers were going to go that way anyway, but I was going to butt them up this side rather than on end, if that makes sense. So I thought I'd share that snippet of information in case any of you were putting down a patio or doing the same thing as this and you need it to be a bit bigger. I've got the line in place now, so I'm just going to skim off the top surface and then see what we've got after that. I'm not really sure how far down I'll need to go, because I think the ground slopes slightly that way, so I might end up doing this side deeper than that side, but we won't know until I get them all in place, will we? Here's the trench. We'll have to pop the sleeper in now and see how level it is. Right. So, needs to come up this end a bit. But I'm not going to worry too much about levelling it all out now until I've got all the surrounding, because I might need to make this bit higher or lower anyway. Right, carry on with the digging. Oh, but first I need to cut the timber or the sleeper to size. Good workbench, this compost heap. So, I want to cut 4 of the sleepers to 200 centimetres, because if each greenhouse is 190 centimetres long, then if I make it 200, it gives a little bit of room for it to sit nicely on, and it means that it all meets nice and square in the middle and looks neat, rather than having a whole sleeper and then a little bit on the end, if that makes sense. So the weight should then be evenly distributed throughout the length of the one sleeper. I mean, I'm not putting glass in the greenhouse. It's going to be netting. So it's not such a big thing that it all needs to be super, super level. But if I'm going to do it, I might as well make it as level as I can, mightn't I? 100. Unfortunately, this won't go through the whole width of it, so I might need to use the handsaw to finish it off. The electric saw was having a bit of trouble. I'm not sure why, but there was a smell of burning wood. So I'll do it the old-fashioned way. It'll just take longer. Well, I eventually got there. It didn't take too long, actually. It was okay. Right, let's get this one in place. So I got this one in place now. Obviously it's not sitting level because I haven't dug out the ground. This one this side is causing me a bit of concern because it's sitting lower, which might mean I have to pack all of this in to raise the level. And I don't want the sleepers to sit too low in the ground, because I want to use the raised sides that will be inside to put the compost up against, so it's like forming the bed essentially. So I don't want to lose much of the sleeper if I can. So I'm thinking I might end up having to dig out or skim the grass off here, so that when I put the compost down, you know, it's lower. So that's not something I really want to do, but looking at it now, the height of the grass, I think when I put my cardboard on top and then compost on top of that, there might not be enough depth of compost to kill the grass underneath, so the grass will keep growing back. So I think I might have to skim the grass. But that's like, let's get on with the digging out that trench bit first and get the surrounding, and then we can see what we're working with. So I've dug out most of it now. I haven't dug out this bit or this bit, but it's getting a bit hot to dig out the rest of it now. I have dug out this bit in front as well, But I phoned my husband to see if he had any reason why the saw wasn't necessarily working, and he said that I need a different blade. So I do need to get brackets today from a hardware store to attach these sleepers together. So I thought, well, I might as well see if I can get a blade while I'm there, and then if I can get the right blade, it'll be a quicker job rather than me hand sawing through those sleepers. So that is the plan. I'm going to go home and get a drink. It's now 12 o'clock and 24 degrees. So that is enough for the time being. So I'm back now, and I have picked up a new blade for my saw. So this one has got a lot more like grooves in it than the old one. And I have tried it. And it cut really well the last sleeper I did. So I thought, oh, I'll show you what it's cutting like. And then just go this side. And then go this side. And then join the two. So it always pays to go and get the proper, tools for the job. Right, I'll show you what I've got now. So I've just put this one in place now. So the frames are all cut. I need to sort this side out quite a lot. And I just need to go around now and pack and fill and flatten and basically probably dig away for about 2 hours until I've got everything level. So I'll bring you back when that is done. So I leveled everything out now, and I've connected it all together, so it should stay together fine. That's as far as I'm going with this at the moment, because I have thought of something and I might not need these sleepers at all. So I brought the greenhouse down the other day just so it was here ready to assemble, because I thought I was going to do that, today as my next step. And when I was looking at the sort of like the bits on the floor that attach, to the floor, I noticed they have this sort of quite tall guard on them. And the reason I wanted the sleepers was that when I trim the grass, when I attached the net into the greenhouse frame, I was afraid that I would trim the net in a lot and have to repair the brassica cage all the time. But with these thick bottoms, I'm not sure if that would be an issue. So I might not need those sleepers here. But we are doing quite a lot of work in our home garden as well. So I'm going to talk it over with my husband and see if he needs those sleepers at home rather than me have them here. So I'm going to stop that project at the moment, which is a bit tedious. But let's not dwell on that. Let's go and have a look at how my beans fared against the rabbits the other day. Well, the answer is the majority of them did. So these are my French beans. You can see that one had the leaves eaten off it, but they didn't eat the middle bit, so the middle bit is still growing. So hopefully that will recover unless they eat it again. All the cucumbers and squashes look like they've been left alone, and they look like they're settled in okay. And then the runner beans again, they've been eaten a little bit, but there might still be some growing in them. You see, they seem to have eaten the leaves. This is the worst one really, but there is still something growing in the middle. They haven't gone for the nasturtiums. And there's something that's, oh, I've gone around the other way. There's something that's pecked away at that one there. And then again, this one is looking a bit poor. But then those two on the end, they are growing away fine. And this one too seems to be untouched, just not growing up the cane very well. So down here, I've got another couple of beans to go in. So these two here are Blue Lake, and these are Greek gigantes. So I'm really hoping they leave those ones alone, because I want to save seed from them more than any of the other beans. Oh no, epic fail on my behalf. I was going to plant those beans out, and then I realised that I don't have the poles there, because when I did the poles the other week, I didn't have any more poles. I was waiting for some to come through the post, and I've forgotten to bring them down with me. So we'll have to do those beans tomorrow. Let's go on and plant out my crown prince squash. Well, my other crown prince squash, because I planted the first one out a couple of weeks ago as an experiment. The crown prince squash that I planted in here about 2 weeks ago seems to be okay. Nothing seems to have, eaten it or bothered with it. So I've decided I'm going to plant the next one out. Unfortunately, I have been really hasty with filling this and planting the squash on top. I should have left it longer so that the manure would have sunk down, and then I could have topped it up, because we're missing quite a lot now of what could be rotting down manure space. So that's a bit annoying. I just should have waited, but I was just so hasty. I just really wanted to get my plants in. But anyway, let's get this second one in now, and then we can move on to the leeks. Here's the second one going in. It's got a little bit of catching up to do, but I'm sure it will settle in. I'll give it a water when I water everything else in. But let's get cracking with those leeks. Oh, before that though, I'll show you the next compost bay, because I've been filling that up as I go, and I'll talk you through what I've been filling it with. So far, this compost heap has had a layer of cardboard at the bottom, then some scraps from the caddy from the house. Then I brought down a load of my lovage plant, because I dug that up because it just didn't taste very nice, and it was where the chickens were going to go, their coop was going to go. So they've gone there. Then I put a layer of the clods of earth that I've been digging up around the place. I put that on. Then I watered it all, put another layer of cardboard on. Then I put more clods on top, because I didn't have anything to hand at the moment. But I've done some more pruning of my grapevine today, so those can now go in there. So hopefully that will all rot down now, and I can keep adding to it as we go along. So it's time to plant out my leeks. Those of you who have been following me for a few years will know that the last few years I've had disasters with my leeks for some reason. They've either had black fly, or they had allium leaf minor, or they just rotted away for some reason. So fingers crossed this year is the year we get some leeks. I've got two varieties here. One is Bulgarian Giant, and the other is, I think is Musselburgh. So I normally multi-sow my leeks, but I haven't this year. I've gone back to doing it how I did it when I very first began gardening, or growing veg rather. And I am going to sow them singly and hope that that works. So I've got my dibber, I'm going to make a hole. Oh, I better separate these leeks first, didn't I? Bulgarian giant. I should really have brought some water, like a bucket, and I could have soaked them in the bucket, which would have taken the compost off them without me like breaking away the roots. But I haven't done that, and I haven't got a bucket down here, so I'm afraid it's going to have to be brutal. But they've come away all right, actually. Yeah, not bad at all. Okay. So I'm going to leave about 10 centimetres between each leek and then sow them. I'm back down here with my beans. I've put my poles up ready. So let's get planting these. So that's the blue lake gone in. I've got some climbing bolotis at home as well. So I could now plant them in the root trainer. Made a bit of mess of that, didn't I? Let's get rid of these weeds while I'm here. Thick stems on these Greek gigantes. It rained last night, but I feel like I still need to water these in. When I finished planting my leeks out last night, I had to rush off because, well, my husband had made my dinner for me and they were waiting for me to eat it. So I rushed off, and the leeks only covered that much of the bed. So I've got a little bit left here. So I thought I would sow some carrots here because I'll be covering this bed with Enviromesh just in case there's any allium leek minor around. My neighbour says there isn't. He's never suffered with them, and he has still got leeks growing. So maybe it hasn't reached down here yet. So, but I thought, well, I'm not sure about carrot root fly. So if I'm going to cover this bed, then, you know, it'll be worth sowing the carrots and the leeks together, and I can cover them both at the same time. So I'm just going to make some drills for the carrots to go in. I'm not doing the 30 centimetres between each row that a lot of people do because I'm not going to be walking down the rows. And in my experience, that sort of 10 centimetres between each row is fine. The variety I got here is Amsterdam Forcing, and I'm just going to sow it thinly down the line. I'll just gently cover them over now, get rid of some of the stones, and hopefully they'll grow well. Fingers crossed. This isn't normally how I do them, as you know, but sometimes you just haven't got time to faff around with little stations. And as long as they grow, isn't it? It doesn't matter. Well, I'll just finish doing the other side, and let's go and have a look at my sweet peas that I need to uncover and build a teepee for. So here's the leek bed and now the carrot bed at the bottom, all planted up. Some of the leeks are beginning to stand up, which is usually a good sign, as it means that their roots have connected with the water and they're getting enough of what they need to support themselves. It feels like a long time ago since I planted up this bed, and I'm just going to have to hope that it doesn't get eaten, because I need these sweet peas to start climbing. I'm just going to stunt them if I don't move them soon. And also I can see I need to do a weed in this bed, so... Okay, so it's all a little bit weedy, but it won't take long for us to get rid of these weeds. You have to be a little bit careful. I don't want to be pulling out the sweet peas. All these weeds are because I disturbed the compost that was in my beds at home and brought them down here. So loads of dormant seeds, weed seeds have come to the surface. But one or two weeds, weeding sessions like this, and they'll be gone then. I'm just going to pop some canes in so they have something to grow up. And then hopefully this will grow away really nicely. So in this bed, the antirrhinum is getting going. The alyssum has certainly got going this side, and the lupin is holding its own as well. The sweet peas, I think they just need to spread out a bit from where they were crouched down. On this side, the snapdragon's doing well. I don't know what happened to the alyssum, that's disappeared, but this lupin is doing really well. And then on the other side, it's more or less the same. The antirrhinum's doing well, the alyssum's doing well, and the lupin's doing well. These have actually got flowers on them, which is great. Hopefully they'll climb up a bit more. And then this side has still got its alyssum this side, and the snapdragon, and the lupin is doing okay, but I don't think that one is as good as the others. So I really hope these get climbing soon and give us a lovely display. So these two now are standing here like guards, aren't they? But hopefully in the next couple of days, those sweet peas will start to grow up rather than like be all crouched over like they were. So next time I'm down, I might have a look at tying them in or making sure they're climbing up, but they might sort themselves out and do that anyway. So let's go home and have a look at what I've been up to at home. I am finding jobs to do in the shade again. It's another scorching day here. So what I've decided to do today is to set up the Quadgrows to grow my peppers in, my sweet peppers. And then I'm going to pot on my chilli pepper plants into like their final positions, which will either be 2.5 litre pots or 5 litre pots. So I'm making a big wheelbarrow full of compost that I can use to fill the pots. This is about 40% spent compost, then a couple of handfuls of perlite in it, a couple of spoonfuls of bloodfish and bone, and then the rest is bought in shop compost. So hopefully that will be enough to see the plants through for this growing season. I got the Quadgrows out from the front greenhouse where they were stashed all winter, and I began to set them up in the greenhouse. So that's all looking good now. I just now need to fill the tubs and the pepper plants. So I've just laid these all out now, and they don't all quite fit in a line this way. So I'm just going to turn this one that way and have the rest going in line that way. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. It's very hot in here, that's all I can say. It's really hot. Right, I've got these all set up now. I want to fill them with the water and the nutrients. On the package it says for every litre of water you use 3 millilitres each of these two. So I can't remember how much the Quadgrow takes, but if I fill this watering can up, which is 5 litres, and then I can see how many watering cans it takes to fill this up, I can then work out how much nutrient to put in there. So here we go. That's one watering can. 2 watering cans. So that was about 2 3/4. Oh my gosh, it's really warm in here. Right, I checked the label again and it said for young plants use 3 millilitres per litre, and for mature plants use 6 millilitres per litre. And I'd say my plants are probably more mature than small, even though they are quite small. They are putting on fruit, so I'd say they're kind of mature. So I'm going to go for 5 millilitres per litre, and I put in 2.5 can loads, so that's 12.5 litres. So we'll say 12 litres. So that means 60 millilitres of each nutrient needs to go in that reservoir. I'll get that next one filling up while I sort this one out. In typical me fashion, I filled the reservoir too much. So if I put in the 60 millilitres of each concentrate, I think it's going to run out to the sides. So I'll just take a bit out and pop it into that one. Okay, so when I set these up last year, I had them all in a line like this one, but it made it really hard to fill the water because once the flowers grew, I was trying to feed them between each plant. It just didn't work out. So I did learn something last year. Even though it's roasting in here, I wanted to get these set up so that once I've done the pepper plants, they can go straight into, the holes. The capillary matting can go straight through the holes rather than sit on the floor and get dirty. That's what I was hoping anyway. It doesn't take long to fill up these reservoirs, mind. And what I do then, when I'm filling them up, I just usually fill them up with, oh, there's water left in there. I usually fill them up with the watering can. So I make the mix for the watering can because the reservoir doesn't always empty all the way down for me to fill it up like this. So it's better for me to measure it in a watering can and then just fill it up so that it's getting the right amount of nutrients. Because you can overfeed as well as underfeed, can't you? Okay, we are there. We'll just put this last one on. Let's go and do our peppers. For anyone wondering, it's 45 degrees in here. It's 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Here are my pepper plants. They're not looking too bad, are they? Grown from seed. probably a lot further behind than other people's, but hopefully they'll give us some peppers this year anyway. And then over here are my tubs. So there's the pot with the hole in the bottom, and then I've soaked my capillary mat in there, and I've got my lids to go on the top. So the capillary matting has a pointy end, and the pointy end goes up. And then you want sort of like the pointy end to be about 3/4 of the way up the pot, really. Fill it up as best you can. Keep an hole in the middle for the plants. Well, that's one down. Only a few more to go. So they're all potted up now. I'm going to give them a thorough watering in, and then we'll pop them into their stations in the greenhouse, and hopefully they'll grow away really happily. It is worth saying that they do tell you to water them like this for about a week until they dry out and then put them in the Quadgrows. But because I kind of forgot about that stage, I've already done the Quadgrows ready to go. So they're just going to go into their positions now, and I'll just hope that they don't suffer too much for missing that step. I'm just popping these into their positions now, and then I'll show you what they're looking like when I'm done. It's a little bit cooler now, so I'm going to work on the table instead, so I don't have to hide from the sun. But I'm going to pot on my chillies now. These have been happily growing away on my front windowsill. The ones in the front have been in the mini greenhouse around the front, and a lot of these are going to grow on in that mini greenhouse around the front for the time being. But ones where I have got doublers of the same plant, I have 4 pots on my strawberry shelves, and I'm going to do an experiment where I grow one plant indoors and see how the other plant fares outdoors, because it's quite curious to see how chilli plants will do growing in Suffolk in England over the British summer. So I thought that would be a good experiment. So I've got my bloodfish and bone mix with perlite and some spent compost and some fresh compost, and I'll be potting most of these into 5-litre pots. The ones that will go outside will be in 10-litre pots, which will probably skew the results a little bit because the pot will be bigger, but those are the pots that I've got available. So we'll see how they grow anyway. I'll get on and pot these up, and then I'll show you where my peppers have ended up and where my chilli plants will end up. So here are the 4 chilli plants in and among the strawberry plants. So this one here is a habanero, and this one here is also a habanero, and then this one is an Anaheim, and it's got a few flowers on it, and this one is just called a hot chili shake. And then if we come to the mini greenhouse, inside this middle pepper plant is a habanada, which is meant to be sort of the same taste as a habanero but without the heat. Then flanking it either side we've got habaneros, and then in the corner there is another Anaheim, and I hadn't realised that it's already got a fruit forming on it, so that's exciting. Hopefully it'll grow a little bit more. And then in the other corner here is a hot chili shake, and hopefully they'll enjoy it in here because it does get a lot of sun. Oh, And down here, this is another habanero. Almost forgot about it. And here are the peppers in the Quadgrows. So I haven't staked these yet, but I will do soon. And they all look reasonably happy. Annoyingly, this one seems to have flopped over a bit and now is growing up like that. So there's not much I can do about that. If I try to force it upright, I'll end up breaking the stem. So I'll just have to grow like that on the side. And then the other ones, they look like they're settling in really well. What I will need to do, oh, this is another one that's flopped over as well. So I might be able to hold that one up if I put the pole in here. So it sort of like snakes around the pole maybe. And then in the corner, the aubergines look happy. And then there's the little straggly pepper that got ousted in here in February by accident. But it looks like it's grown a bit since last time you saw it. So I think what I'm going to do with these Quadgrows is bring them forward so that they have more room to grow, you know, with the angled glass. If I bring them forward a bit, they'll have more height. Or I could drop the stage into the first stage rather than it being up high like it is at the moment. But I'll worry about that when the plants get a bit bigger. I might also end up putting the aubergines in the front mini greenhouse and they can grow on with the chilies possibly, and that will give a bit more room on this staging back here. And just outside the greenhouse, this is where I've been homing my brassicas ready to go down to the allotment, but I think I've held them too long because this one has already started to grow a little cauliflower, and some of them are collies, some of them are cabbages, but they kind of all need to go in as soon as possible. And I think I might just have to start again with these and just sow some more. Got kale here. The kale isn't too bad, it just needs potting on or putting out into its final position. And then over here I've got kohlrabi, and I think again I might have held that too long. I'm not really sure. There was another batch of kohlrabi like that at the back. And then here I've got Swedes, and I don't know whether to even bother planting these. I might have held these too long, I'm not sure. And these ones are not looking too bad. These are sort of like an ensemble of different ones. So there's sprouts, and there's purple sprouting broccoli, and there's pixie cabbages and all kinds in amongst these. Look at that snail. I just evicted the snail. So I've kept them too long, I think. I think once I've got this brassica cage sorted out, I think I'm going to have to plant some new, I think. That's probably the best, really. They are. I've held them and held them. I should have potted them on, but I thought I would have got the brassica cage in place sooner. So that's annoying, but I'll salvage what I can, and what I can't, well, I'll just start again. But if you look behind me, you can see that where the apple tree was, it is no longer there. They've come and cut it down, so hopefully the greenhouse will be moving on apace now. That's it for me for today. I hope you've enjoyed the work I've got up to. All I can say about my work today is lovely job, and take care everybody.